And if everybody would just introduce themselves again. I know we did this last week, but we've got a few new people this morning. And so if everyone would just introduce themselves, tell where your group is meeting, what kind of group you have mixed group, men's group, women's group, and then share something about the prayer experience.
Share
That you
something
had,
about
the prayer experience.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you want to start?
Sure, sure. Well, I'm Randy Barnes, or as Mr. Churchill used to say, I'm Mrs. Churchill's husband. She's better known than I am. I have a great group of guys, all ages, literally. And we had a great prayer experience. I think I was surprised how easily the guys got into going off by themselves and really praying for an hour. I thought there would be a real challenge with that because I know that was a challenge for me. And we had a little extra benefit of Bob Baldwin playing his guitar at the end and little worship music, so it was really cool.
My name is Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
Hey,
I have Audrey and I have a young adult, and they're
Because you're
pretty cool. We had the prayer experience and the fasting was amazing. The fasting, every one of them in our group actually pulled off the 24-hour fast, which was shocking for that young group. For me, it was shocking. But they said they loved it and they hated it at the same time, but it felt like they were supposed to do it, so it was pretty cool. The prayer experience was, I think we'll find out more what really happened during the prayer experience. They did talk about it some. We didn't dig into anything personal. We just wanted to hear what their reaction was to it, and so they all came back on time and pretty quiet. So to me, that means that was a good prayer experience. So I dumpster dove the whole time that I was out there, so going up and down the alleys.
Thank you, Johnny.
You got some good
You go down
stuff.
these alleys and they got dumpsters everywhere and there's nobody there. It's dark and that was cool.
Gosh.
I wish I had brought a flashlight.
His car was full of stuff.
I'm just kidding. Kathy, your turn. Quick.
Oh, thank you. I'm Kathy, and I have a women's group, and I'm in Foundry, and the ladies, a lot of them were just really hesitant about the fasting and the prayer time, but all of them but two fasted, but they couldn't because of medications and stuff like that, the two that couldn't. And the prayer time, it was funny all the way up to the end. I don't know how I'm going to pray for an hour. I just don't understand it, you know. And they all went away and just came back glowing, every single one of them. It was just awesome to see. So we had a really, really blessed time during our prayer time.
I'm Andy, and my wife Mindy and I, we have a group here at Journey, and we have parents of a lot of young kids and stuff. And it was young, but it was awesome. The prayer experience was cool. Most people hadn't fasted before, and everybody did either technology or something, food or things like that. And it was just cool. Like even coming back and doing the feast at the end, it was just really neat. Like one of the group volunteers brought pizza for everybody, and they all brought salads, and it was a cool community building thing. And I think that's what the prayer experience is awesome about. It really just kind of builds your group even further together. And so for us, it felt like that's what happened, just like the honesty that's happening is really cool.
I'm John. Me and Sheila, my wife, do a group at the Foundry, and we have a mixed group, couples and men and women. But we did our break of the fast at the beginning, and then did the prayer time afterwards. And a lot of them were kind of wide-eyed when you kind of gave them instructions on how to go out and then pray for an hour. And but when they came back, it was a blessing. A lot of them experienced things that they haven't experienced before, having to get to the end of not knowing the end of your prayer and having to start with another one because it's continuing on. And then other people who prayed about things that they never really prayed about. They were downtown, they're praying about the community and a business. And then, and one person realizing that several years of his life has been 5-minute, 10-minute prayers and not going along, or further than that. So God touched them all in different ways and for what they needed, and it was just a really neat, enlightening experience for all of them, I think.
I'm Glenna Patrick, and my husband Ryan and I have a mixed group at Foundry. And my recommendation would be, going forward, is breaking the fast before the prayer time, because like Johnny was saying, our people were pretty quiet when they came back, and it's just so much food for thought to think about where you've been and just absorbing that. So to kind of come back in and have it be people cracking up, or you know what I mean, I just think it left us in a really good place when we left the building to still be kind of in thought with that. And we had a kind of a fun little thing happen. One of the guys in our group came back to the table, and as it was kind of going around the table, he said, "I've got this song that I learned as a child, and I haven't sang it since I was a child," but he goes, "I can't get this song out of my head," because I think Ryan asked if anybody heard, "Did God speak to you tonight?" And he said yes through this song, and he wouldn't sing it for us, but he would say it. But he said, "It's been a really long time," and he said the words in that song are very pertinent to my life right now. So that was cool.
I'm Sally Lemos, and Ernie and I have a mixed group, couples and single couples. Our group is pretty quiet coming back from prayer. It'll be interesting to see as we get back together this next week, because even personally, I feel like I did hear something clearly, but I still was kind of chewing on it. But we had one person in our group that shared starting out that he was really concerned about quieting his mind, that just didn't think that he would be able to quiet his mind, and he had fasted and been praying about that throughout the day. And when we came back, he was just tearful that God had really quieted his mind for that entire hour. So it was really kind of a neat thing to see.
My name is Jen, and Rochelle Poole and I are co-leading a group in that room right over there, mostly 20-something moms. So the prayer experience was a little distracting with screaming children. Most of them, because everyone's ears are on alert. Is that my kid? So it was a little bit distracting in that regard. But my group is quite quiet, and so we're working on what it means to share, and a lot of awkward silence. But I think it's okay. I think God works in that. There was something that God had specifically asked me to do in regard to my own prayer that evening. I was very hesitant to do it, but it was obedient. And at the very end, essentially what God had asked me to do was share with my children what I had prayed for them. And that was vulnerable for me. Well, then at the very end, one of the other gals God had told her to share with me what God had her praying for me. So it was this very circular thing. And then, so it was very quiet even after, it was kind of somber afterward. And when I got home that night, one of the other gals opened up via text. So she didn't obviously feel comfortable in the group to do that, but she did over text message, and she felt like she was really being attacked. And so we processed via text through, what are you feeling, what are you experiencing, what lie are you believing right now, and did a prayer, and then followed up with her the next morning, and she's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much more free. So what I'm starting to see in group is the importance of establishing relationship with others, and just knowing that God is connecting people, maybe when I don't actually see it happening, it's actually taking place. So an interesting, I don't know, it's fascinating that God is clearly at work. So
I'm Danette. Steve and I are doing a kind of mixed group
at Foundry. And our fasting experience first was pretty crazy because every single person did fast. And we had a couple people that have never fasted before, anything, and were super nervous about it. But I think that really set the stage for them going into the prayer time. And then our group came back after the prayer time and just talk. Everybody had so much to say about how God spoke to them. Some people it was through music, some people it was just through what they actually could hear around them and where they felt directed to pray. And so I think it was really awesome for us. It was actually even more bonding for us right away.
I'm Brent. I facilitate one of the men's groups, and I think they all fasted, and a lot of these guys like work construction and like work with their bodies all day, and so I kind of assumed, they probably wouldn't, they wouldn't be able to do it, and they all did it. And so that was really, and I sit at the desk most of the day and hang out with students, so it's sort of easier for me. But so I was really proud of our group, and yeah, I mean, kind of similar comments, like I've never prayed this long, and it went by really fast, and great comments afterwards, feel like the Lord spoke, and just lots of good stuff.
My name's Kelly. Our group meets at our house, my wife Kathy and I. And the prayer time was a little interesting because we spread it out throughout the house, but since we don't have any kids at home, there's rooms upstairs, and so everybody could spread out, and that worked out actually really well for that. And we spent a little time at the beginning going over the homework because we felt it was an important topic that we didn't want to not talk about, and so we did that. And I think it helped our prayer time about trying to take a part of your prayer time to listen to God when He speaks and how God speaks to us. And so I think that helped a lot of our people when they went to praying that length of time for them to take some time to listen to God. And we handed out the names of God, character of God, and said, hey, if you have some time, just start looking these up and going through this and learning from that. And so overall it went really well. We ate at the end and it worked out fine in our group. Yeah, I think it was a real profitable one.
Oh, hi. I'm Brad. This is my wife, Heather. We do a group at the Foundry, I guess the younger married adults. This week was kind of like pulling teeth, I think, for us. I think it was a lot like Don said, you're going to have a lot of those like really painful moments of like silence. And I didn't realize how painful that would be until this week when we're all sitting there and I'm like, oh, I've got to fill the void here. I've got to say something. And I tried not to. I did well. But yeah, our group this week was really quiet. It was just...
I think they're really struggling with the vulnerability part of it. Just because we have a lot of people in the group who, we talked about fasting and have you fasted before? Oh yeah, well I've done a 7-day fast and I've done a 10-day fast, and it was kind of this big like, oh absolutely, I've done that. And yet those same people, when I said, how'd your fasting go this time one day? Oh, well, I had an omelet this morning, and it was like, okay. So there's just a little bit of that kind of like, yeah, we got this. But then when it comes down to it, really getting them to open up and dig a little deeper and share that.
And I think at the end, it was still just painful. The Holy Spirit said, have them break into groups and pray. And I'm like, no, this is not the time for that. So I had this internal, battle with the Holy Spirit, like, no, break into groups and have them pray. And I'm like, no, we only have like 5 minutes left. And then, not a good time, So finally I said, okay, let's break into groups and pray. And they talked like, I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? So they're just talking, and I'm like, this is crazy. So afterward, I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I guess listen to the Holy Spirit. But
I guess.
I think on the other side of that was just, we have gone through crazy battles. Have been attacked like crazy over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if anybody else has, but it's been nuts.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we dealt with. Just very prayerful. in the Word and what have you. But yeah, learning to cast my cares on the Lord. It's kind of been our constant. So yeah.
Wow, thanks for sharing that,
Yeah.
Brenda.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow. So we'll move from the prayer experience to the next experience, which is the serve experience. Just want to make sure that everybody's got their date, that everything is being planned. I'm going to pass around a clipboard, and if you wouldn't mind finding your date on here and writing in your group name and where you're going to serve, just so that we can be praying as that day comes. I just think that'd be really helpful for us to have that before us. So I'm just going to pass that around and fill that out. I've gotten roster updates from most of you. If you haven't been able to do that, please try and do that before Tuesday, just so that I can kind of tighten up the rosters. And just be mindful of attendance. I don't want you to sit there and go, oh, okay, they're here. You know, don't be real obvious about it, but just be mindful of it, because we really are serious about not missing more than 2. So let's just be aware of that. We did add 3 people this last week, and I was really hesitant about that. I mean, technically, yes, they only missed 2, but I was really hesitant because they're coming in
On a heavy one.
on a heavy one, and I explained that to everyone, and they, no, you know, I've been, just lots of different things. But we'll see how this goes. And so I want to learn from this as we go forward. So just the rosters, I want to get those tightened up this week if we can. The next 10 days, we'll be shaping the spring session. So as you are with your groups, you are really getting to know people. I enlist your help to have feedback. Do you have people in your group that are just raising to the top that would be great rooted shepherds going forward? You know, and maybe that you don't identify anybody right now, and that's okay. But just already start thinking about that. On page 46 of the facilitator guide, there's a great list of qualities and things that we would look for in a leader. So familiarize yourself with that and pray about that. You know, just not everybody is called to be a leader of a rooted group, and I would just really treasure your prayers as I have no idea what that spring session looks like yet, but I know God has a plan. So I would treasure your thoughts and prayers as that comes together. So that's a good segue for what's next with your group. One of the key points of Rooted is that these do become life groups. This will be the main on-ramp for life groups at Journey as we go forward. And as we might recall our celebration experience where we were all commissioned to be ministers, that mission statement that we have here at Journey, it is not a separate thing, that it's the pastors or the staff that's carrying that, but it's all of us. And that's part of what we are instilling throughout our groups, is that they are part of what we are doing here at Journey. And so I would just encourage you, you know, as you're also thinking about who could be a rooted leader in the future, if you choose not to continue on with your group, who might be that right person to continue on with your group? And you are not expected to, you absolutely can. But we want to try to start planting those seeds with our groups, that continuation is an opportunity for them. So if there might be any questions about that, or so here we are, week 4. This has probably been a hard week, not only for us, getting the tough times and being attacked. This is a week where people are remembering. Maybe they're even walking through a real season of really hard stuff. And So I would just ask that, as you meet with your groups this week, that you have that extra sensitivity and patience to really hear, maybe even beyond what they're saying. Looking in the eyes and discerning, what's really in their hearts. Because this will be a hard week, and then it leads right into week 5 of Strongholds, which these next 2 weeks are they're heavy. They can be real transition points for people. Transformation. It's an opportunity that's right here, right now. And just to remember, some of the things that your group is reading, and hopefully you guys are reading along with the participant guide too. Then on page 64 it says, He hasn't forgotten about us. He knows exactly where we are and what we experience. And whether we see it or not, He is involved. God hears us. He empathizes with us. The Bible talks more about God comforting His people in times of pain than rescuing His people or changing their circumstances. Romans 5:3-4. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. It is hope found only in our loving Heavenly Father that enables us to take another step, to keep walking when all seems lost, knowing that Jesus walks alongside us. And when our sorrow becomes too great, when we cannot walk, He carries us. I just love that little nugget from a rooted book. Does anybody have any questions about this week or anything that they want to share or ask?
I would ask for prayers for our group because I just found out this morning that our service project fell apart.
Oh,
Okay. And so,
On their end? On this? Okay.
Okay.
Well, they're in the person who was our person that was setting it up. Yeah. So anyway, through church, I was trying to listen to the service, but I was like going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And what Ryan and I came up with is we're going to go home and compose an email tonight back out to our group and let them know that that's fallen apart, and to come prepared Tuesday night to name our service project, and if they have something, an idea, to maybe Monday make the call. Is this a possibility? So that hopefully we can get something tied back down for Tuesday night. So that's a concern right now, and we just know how important that is, and we just really want to be successful in that. And so
What's your date?
We've got two Saturday dates. I think we've got the 24th of February and April 1. Their Saturdays was when the group could do. And right now, my group everybody's blocked out those 2 Saturdays until my point person was gonna lock it for us. And like I said, I just found out this morning it's not gonna work, and he's trying to kind of still make it work, but it's not receptive on the other end. And I just said, we could show up there that day or that night, and then they're like going, what are you guys doing here? And it doesn't sound like they're super receptive to it being a church, that bringing the church into their thing. So anyway, I guess what I learned during service today is it's not mine to fix it, this is our group. And so the best way Ryan and I could figure to do that is to get that email out to everybody today and to say, pray about it and think about it and come prepared Tuesday night to lock something else in. So we don't have a service project right now.
That's okay.
I love your insight, though. I'm sure naturally you would want to just fix
I'm a
this.
fixer, I'm a glue gun, I've been called a glue gun a lot, and it yeah.
But I like to take it's way more leadership involved to do what you're doing right now. It's way more uncomfortable. And it's much more leadership. You're really empowering the group. It leaves it open-ended and stressful.
Yeah.
But I love that you're doing that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, let me know if I can help with any resources.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything else about any of this? Couple of things as we actually peek ahead a little bit to week 5, it might be helpful for you all to watch the Strongholds video before Tuesday, just to kind of get a glimpse of some of the things that are shared there, because you will want to share with your group this week that the homework's going to be a little harder. It's going to be a little more time required, but just to not let them go thinking, okay, it's just another week, because it is going to be hard. So just prepare them for that, and then even say, use the words, come prepared to share next time, and be prayed over, because that will be something that we want everybody to be sharing, and it's not necessarily an optional thing. So if they know that ahead of time, that might help them as they come to week 5. We will be splitting the groups up, men and women, and I will give you guys your location assignment. Well, not you guys, Kelly. You'll have to figure that one out at your house. Perfect. Perfect. But everybody else, I will let you know where we will split you guys out at. And that's coming together great. So I'm excited about that. Name tags. Do you guys want name tags again this week? Are you feeling?
I do.
You do?
Absolutely. Well, we have a new member, and that would be helpful to her as well.
The ladies, okay. Who else?
Sorry.
I'll have them just because
Okay.
I don't know who in the group struggles
Okay.
with names, and sometimes they don't voice that, and that can
Another
shut
way?
them right up, not
Yeah,
knowing
yeah.
somebody's name.
Absolutely. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
we can do this.
put us on that list.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, and if you change your mind, just shout out to me and we can do that.
We have 2 Lindas and 2 Lances.
That's easy.
So it's really nice, you just go Lance, we have Canadian Lance and American Lance.
We had 3 Johns in my group last time, so it was like, it was easy.
So that works out really well.
It's a guy, it's John.
So I just want to just close it out by, you've shared kind of a struggle that you guys are having. What other struggles or things that you guys would want to share that we can encourage one another and hear about?
And, like you guys, it's just an onslaught of enemy noise. These things that come up that our family's having to deal with, whether it's parenting issues, whether it's you come across somebody who's angry about something, or it looks like it's going to. I had all this chaos going on. I had done nothing wrong in my job, and I wasn't at fault for anything. But I had these fears that I was going to lose my job, because I was in the middle of fixing their problems, and it's just so much pressure and so much noise that I recognize what it is, but it doesn't absolve you from the fact that your reality is you're in the battle. You're in a war with Satan, and you have to fight that battle, and you're gonna win it. The victory's there, but doesn't mean you just automatically don't get to go through the battle. And so it gets tough and it gets stressful to, in reality it is. It's stressful to have to go through all these battles with the enemy and the onslaught of it. And so prayer that he's, for the sake of peace, that the enemy's just shut down. For all of us. I mean, I'm sure we've all had something.
And I had a great week.
Praise the Lord.
I'm lying right now.
I would say that if you're struggling and you're having a lot of stuff like that happening, that's actually evidence you're doing something really good. Because the enemy doesn't care. If the enemy's not in this trying to stop you, something's not happening. So I think, take heart that the more challenges you're having, Holy Spirit just wants you to kind of lean into it a little bit more, but He's going to guard you through that, because that's what this is all about. People being exposed to battles in their lives. And you're getting ready for the big two. And so that's probably the enemy trying to weaken your position. And remember that, that's probably going to happen when you get there next week, or that even this week.
Yeah,
Folks will
thank
be
you. Yeah,
overcome.
absolutely.
So it's a compliment to what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
This side.
I would just really have it there for just kind of wisdom.
Please speak up, Sally.
Wisdom, as we, or as I kind of guide the group. We've got a couple people that are very closed. Body language, everything is very close. I'm going to shift where I'm sitting so I can make eye contact. But I feel like this next week is really going to be critical going into the Strongholds week, that some of that starts to come down. And just feeling called to be a little more challenging of the people that are kind of closed. There are several people who've really dropped their guard and shared intimate things. But I just feel this real tension between, people that are ready to go there, maybe that aren't, maybe part of a couple wants to be there, part of the couple doesn't. So just wisdom, that I would hear God's voice and how to, and be willing to be obedient to whatever it is He's asking us to do.
That's good.
For me, I'm not convinced that my entire group is actually doing the work. Judging by the lack of participation, and I think I can tell who's doing the work and who is not, and I can't say for certain, but I'd be willing to bet that a majority are not, and I think it's really hindering the process, because you get out what you put into it. And so just wisdom on how to facilitate and encourage. Most of them are either single moms or they're moms of young children, and so I would understand why. So just wisdom on how to encourage them in the process in the few weeks that are left. Yeah, for sure.
I would say the challenge too, I have a lady who's a seeker, who I'm not really sure is a believer. Close, she understands it, but, and then on the other side, we have people who've been believers for a long time, very mature believers, at least kind of how they, talk. And the challenge both, the mature believer, to challenge them to go deeper, not to be satisfied with where they're at. Because you have a lot of those people, and then, but not leave this person behind. And so just kind of being able to do both within the same group. So it just takes conscious effort to think about it before you head into your group. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? How are you going to approach this with this person? And how are you going to approach it with these people? So it just takes extra work to anticipate and think it through. And then just trust God. At the end, you can plan all you want, but you don't know how it's all going to go down. So you just have to trust God, and He'll give you the words when you need them. So.
I would also say, kind of along the lines of that a really uncomfortable stillness, and that is, like, we had a guy that I don't think said 2 words prior to this last week, and all of a sudden he just it was like a gusher, and Heather and I were doing the, oh my gosh, he's talking. And he just wouldn't stop talking. But it was just like, wow, I thought he was a mute or something, but yeah, he was talking. It was just incredible. So just that, it's okay. It's not, but it's okay, that they don't talk, and then they do, because I think, we prayed about that, and Heather's going, I really believe that they're thinking about a lot of this. There's a lot going on inside there. So giving them that chance to think. Anyway, just an encouragement there that some of those that are quiet, just give them that chance. They will. So.
I think that we tend to not understand what people's lives are like. I went on a youth group trip missions work and was absolutely blown away at how many kids had major issues going on in their life. I mean, I just had no clue that that stuff was going on in their lives. I think, you know, oh, you're a kid, I'm going to tell you what to do, you go do it, everything will be fine. You know, and, but no, it's not like that. But then with the adults, you know, whatever kids are going through, adults are a lot older, had a lot longer to live, and you times that times 10 in adults. And yeah, there's trust issues, there's, you know, pain and hurt. Yeah, and they're not clamming up because they're an introvert. They're clamming up because there's something serious going on in their lives. And, so yeah, it's, you know, and with that said, man, this next 2 weeks is going to be huge for that.
Okay, well, let's close in prayer. And I just thank you all so much for all that you're giving. God, we're grateful that you do care of us. Lord, we lift up all of these challenges and needs and concerns before you. You know each one. You know each one in our groups, Lord. And we know that you are the answer to all of life's suffering. We thank you for sending Jesus, who showed us how to walk through suffering. Thank you that you provide people with encouragement. You provide ways to navigate these really hard times. Lord, as we walk through this week with our groups, I just pray that the idea of surrender would become real. That we would surrender our time with our groups to you and let you do the work. Because you are so big, God. And you are able to heal. You are able to mend. You go before us, Lord. Lord, send us out as your light. Help us to have your ears, your eyes, and most importantly, your heart for people. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.